Destiny 2, for all the headway the game's made with its content releases, it still continues to face controversy because of how they handle aspects of their business model, be it microtransactions, the way certain types of content are designed in such a way to incentivize microtransactions purchases, like how they handle transmog, which I talked about in videos months ago. And now they're facing backlash as a result of the way they're handling removal of content, as well as how they're charging for upcoming new content. Now, recall that back in June of 2020, Bungie drew some backlash because of their plans to remove old planets and raids because Destiny 2 was getting too bloated per the developers, and that meant losing Mars, Io, Titan, Mercury, Leviathan, along with all supported activities. And while there were some who were saying, well, this is content that isn't played by many players anyway, there were others who argued, well, this is still content that I paid for that I'd like to have access to in case I do feel like revisiting it one of these days, not to mention that new players just get to miss out on all of this content. And so that's been the argument, though generally people seem to agree that there must be a better solution for this than just removing that content outright. And then a second round of content removal, or vaulting as it's called, was announced earlier this month, October of 2021, when Bungie straight up said that they're going to remove the Forsaken campaign, the Tangled Shore destination, and Year 4 seasonal content. Now they're trying to ease the transition a bit by making the Forsaken campaign free in December before it gets removed entirely, but that's still plenty of content that's being removed. And, you know, with the Year 4 seasonal content, that also includes things like the Prestige and Harbinger exotic missions. And the same old argument is cropping up again. Those defending this are saying, well, this is content that not too many people play anyway, and they're gonna add a bunch of new content to make up for that. But there are those, and I feel like the vocal majority seems to be that this is just not acceptable to remove such key content, that even if not too many people play it, there's still people who play it, and especially for new players who want to experience the breadth of content of Destiny 2, well, this is going to make things less accessible, as they're straight up just going to be missing things that everyone else got to play if they were earlier adopters. And it just doesn't pave the road to a good and enticing model when stuff you're paying for is getting removed on a whim. And that's why social media has been pretty ablaze about this in response to Destiny 2's official Twitter, for example. Here we have Twitter user Salta Grepo, who said, "I won't stop thinking that DSV does more harm than good. I will never support removing content campaigns from the game. I think it hurts its identity." And I will say, as someone who was potentially thinking about seeing where Destiny 2 is at now and playing it again, stuff like this makes me want to stay away from it. This Twitter comment finishes with, "That said, why are we removing Presage but keeping Battlegrounds? Like, Presage was the best mission we got this year." So there are also plenty of disagreements surrounding why is certain content that I actually really enjoy and that many people still enjoy, why is that stuff being removed? Like, by what metric is Bungie determining what content is deemed worthy enough to stay and what content isn't? And are they taking into consideration the fact that they did charge people money for this content that is just disappearing forever? And then here we have a Twitter thread that further criticizes this move by Bungie. "It's weird that people are supportive of removing paid content. There is nothing to do there. That's because Bungie sunset all the weapons from the entire destination on purpose. LMFAO. That's the thing. It's up to Bungie to place value on the locations and the rewards that they offer and drive people to those specific, events, activities, whatnot. But it is argued here that Bungie intentionally made that content less valuable to give themselves an excuse to remove that content. I'm not exactly sure who the safe space argument's for if they aren't making it optional." Here we have another user who responded with, "I get you guys are vaulting to safe space, but what about most of us that don't want to save space? This whole storyline is becoming a blur because you can't play the first part." And again, hearing that makes someone like me go, why would I want to get back into this game when they're going to be missing pieces? And when there's the distinct possibility that money I spent on content might go to waste because that content, you never know, might just disappear, might be removed entirely. Here's somebody else who said, really feel like the Destiny content vault should become optional DLC. I understand not having it part of the main build, but if someone wants to relive the Forsaken campaign in 2022, it should be a DLC you can download, delete at a whim, depending on your memory needs. Not sure of the tech issues though. Again, basically people saying, is removing the content completely with no option to revisit it somehow, even if, you know, it doesn't have the best rewards or it's just its own self-contained instance, whatever, isn't there a way to ensure that the content is accessible in some way while vaulting it so that it's not part of the core experience, but still allowing people who do want to engage with that stuff to go back to it when they do feel like it? Similar sentiments are echoed here. Why not allow us to optionally install these expansions so that we can replay them? I really liked both the base and Forsaken campaign, and now I can never play them again. Here's somebody criticizing the lack of agency when it comes to their ability to control what content they get to keep when that's content they paid for, and it's all kind of similar sentiments echoed across the board. You can pause and read for yourself if you so desire, but everyone's pretty much saying this is a bad idea. Finally, we have Twitter user Grimdark expressing that while to a degree he understands the need for some content vaulting, he's going to miss some of the planets that he can no longer go to after that stuff's vaulted, and it just makes for less choice for players. These are all sentiments that I personally agree with, and the reason I bring all of this up is because adding insult to injury is the way Destiny 2, or the way Bungie is charging for Destiny 2's The Witch Queen expansion content, specifically how dungeons are being locked away in separate purchases and upgrades of the base package. That is just kind of more confusing than it needs to be, but also just really expensive. Destiny Tracker tweeted this: in order to receive access to the Year 5 dungeons, you must purchase the Destiny 2 The Witch Queen Deluxe Edition. As of right now, will not be included with the Season Pass. The dungeons tend to be some of the most anticipated content, and instead of offering one convenient and reasonably priced place to get all of them, they're instead locking these dungeons behind more expensive editions, as detailed here by PC Games N, whose headline reads, Destiny 2 devs are under fire for charging extra for Witch Queen dungeons. Specifically, endgame content is going to be quite a bit more expensive than it's been in the past. 3 dungeons have been advertised. 2 will be included with the digital deluxe edition of Witch Queen, which is $80, so 2 dungeons straight up locked behind a more expensive edition, and then 1 additional dungeon locked behind an even more expensive edition, the 30th anniversary edition, priced at $100. People hope that this will be content included as part of the Season Pass, but nope, not included as part of any Season Pass purchase, and there will be an option to purchase the DLCs separately if you want to just buy the standard edition for Witch Queen and then maybe consider getting the dungeons down the line, but no doubt that's going to be fairly expensive, and this is just not a model that's ideal for a game that's been removing content that people already paid for, now are charging even more for new content that many believe should be included as part of packages like the freaking Season Pass, which is the whole point of a Season Pass. So what we have now is a ridiculous model where to gain access to all endgame content for Witch Queen, you'll need to purchase the expansion itself, the Season Passes, and either a deluxe upgrade or separate DLC. Now, the addition of 3 extra dungeons is significant, as in the past, there have been 3 dungeons in total added to the game over the year, so these 3 upcoming new dungeons will offer plenty of new content, but the fact remains that the business model is something that people are not happy about, because the 3 previous dungeons were added either as part of an expansion pack or a Season Pass, not a separate purchase or a deluxe edition. The way they're paywalling the content and just how much more expensive things have gotten is just something that people are not finding acceptable, especially given the microtransactions landscape of Destiny 2, where they've employed basically every monetization type under the sun into the game, and it just feels like they still can't get enough. And when a company does something like this shortly after the lingering distaste over the removal of major content like an entire campaign, when people feel like they're being punished more with the Witch Queen's pricing model after they've already been punished with content removal, it's just going to pave the road for some really, really bad optics. And the amount of bad will that has been generated from all this is apparent when you look at this Bungie community manager post on Reddit that garnered 2,636 downvotes. The community manager was just clarifying exactly how this business model will work by stating, hey everyone, we have seen some debate around the new dungeon content and wanted to clarify how it will be delivered next year. If you get the digital deluxe edition of the Witch Queen, you'll receive the expansion, all 4 seasons for the next year, and the 2 dungeons. If you get the standard edition, you can still upgrade to the deluxe edition to get the dungeons later. We will also be offering a separate way for you to purchase the dungeons in the future, but they will not be included in the season passes. Now, there are people sympathizing with the fact that this is just the messenger. The response below reads, I know it's not your fault, but you're gonna get eviscerated here. The community manager responded, it happens, just wanted to make sure that there wasn't any ambiguity and everyone had the correct info. But yeah, this clarification didn't go down well. Bungie's doubling down on this pricing model. They don't seem to be showing any signs of yielding, so you got people on Twitter saying stuff like, so let me get this straight, the dungeons aren't part of the Witch Queen nor the season passes, so the only way to get them currently is to fork out the $80, which also looks like they aren't launching with Witch Queen. I'm sorry, but there is no defending this. This is awful. Here's somebody else scoffing at the notion that Destiny is ever advertised as a free-to-play title, when in reality it's more free to start. You get a very basic shell of the game, and you will have to pay if you actually want to experience the substantial content, and you'll have to pay quite a premium and quite frequently, every year essentially. You never know what the business model will be, and this year's business model is not proving to be positively received. So this individual said, Destiny has and never will be free to play, and any allusion to the fact is hilarious. I don't care what it says on the label. Gotta fork out the big money if you want to play the fun things. Bungie's gotta make their money somehow, and y'all aren't buying enough outfits from Tess. Well, that may be because the general sentiment is that all microtransactions have become massively overpriced on this game. And if you pause the video and look at the prices here, you can check that out for yourself, all broken down by category. They are indeed quite expensive. Calling them micro transactions is a bit of an exaggeration. And here there's criticism of the Witch Queen's various editions. Now look at the anniversary edition's ludicrous price tag. $25 for one exotic, couple of cosmetics, and 1 dungeon. That's it. For $25, I could buy 2.5 season passes, which provide far more content and cosmetics versus this bundle. $25 referring to the cost of buying Bungie's 30th anniversary bundle separately, whereas if you buy the digital deluxe edition and the 30th anniversary bundle together, you can buy both for $100, whereas if you buy them separately, that's $80 plus $25, which amounts to $105. So you save $5 by buying them together. And the general consensus is that charging $25 for a bundle that doesn't include enough content to justify that price point is not acceptable. A post from 3 days ago gained quite a bit of traction at over 13,000 upvotes, and basically asking Bungie, hey, if this is your pricing strategy now, if you're gonna go with such a ludicrous pricing model, at least put some silver in the battle pass, give us that premium currency through the battle pass in both free and premium tracks. Their battle pass is so weak sauce. So it just feels like with Bungie removing content and now pricing editions so expensively and locking content specifically behind those editions, players aren't getting enough in return, enough things that would generate goodwill to make up for all the bad will that Bungie's recent decisions is generating, and it's just causing a whole bunch of backlash. I've seen plenty of people expressing their disappointment by how Bungie's separation from Activision should have mitigated these kinds of business models, but it just feels like Bungie has turned into an Activision-like entity with how greedy some of this stuff is. And this stuff just seems to be getting worse and worse. Bungie seems to keep pushing the envelope a little further each time to see how much they can get away with, and they've already gotten away with a lot, and they're still trying to get away with more. And I'll say once again, for someone who dropped Destiny 2 and is looking for a reason to come back to it, I feel zero incentive to give it a second chance. There's still aspects to it where it feels like an abusive relationship, and it's one that I just prefer not to be a part of until Bungie starts being more consistent about listening to the community and not pushing the boundaries in such a way that, they know they're going to piss people off. But that's just one man's take. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on Bungie removing even more substantial content from Destiny 2, and then following that up with the pricing model that they've implemented with Witch Queen, where dungeons are essentially sold separately and not a part of the season pass and part of reasonably priced packages and and bundles. Share your thoughts below, and to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.